بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، والحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده، نحمده على نعمه التي لا تعد ولا تحصى، حمدا يليق بجلال وجهه الكريم وعظيم سلطانه، فالحمد لله على جعلنا من عباده العلماء الذين ميزهم عن جميع خلقه بجعل صدورنا مليئة بعلم ينتفع الناس به. أما بعد، مرحبا بحضورنا الكريم في ندوتنا الثانية من سلسلة ندوات علوم الطاقة المتجددة. معكم المقدمة اللقاء غادة عارف البوعينين، طالبة لدى جامعة الإمام عبدالرحمن بن فيصل، كلية العلوم والدراسات الإنسانية بالجبيل، تخصص فيزياء الطاقة المتجددة. وتتمحور أهمية العلم في عصرنا بالمشاركة والنشر. تعد الندوات إحدى الطرق التي يتواصل من خلالها الباحثين والأكاديميين والمهتمين بمستجدات المجالات العلمية من كافة أفراد المجتمع. فلنبدأ ندوتنا الثالثة والمقدمة من الأستاذ الدكتور حسام إبراهيم خنكار. أستاذ دكتور حسام بن إبراهيم خنكار حاصل على الدكتوراه في الهندسة الميكانيكية والطاقة الشمسية في جامعة ريدنغ في المملكة المتحدة، وهو يعمل بمثابة باحث رئيس في مجال الطاقة الشمسية بمدينة الملك عبد العزيز للعلوم والتقنية، وعضو مجلس إدارة في مدينة الملك عبد الله للطاقة الذرية والمتجددة. خدم الدكتور خنكار منصب نائب مدير مركز القياس والمعايرة لأكثر من 8 سنوات في المدينة، وشارك في أكثر من 22 معايرة لهيئة المواصفات والمقاييس السعودية والخليج. وبالإضافة إلى ذلك أنه كان عضو هيئة تدريس متعاون في معهد فلوريدا للتكنولوجيا FIT والولايات المتحدة منذ عام 2007، وقد قدم أكثر من 20 براءة اختراع في مجالات مختلفة في المملكة العربية السعودية ودولياً. له من المساهمات العلمية والمؤلفات أكثر من 188 بين اختراعات وكتب وأوراق علمية وتقارير واستشارات علمية. تم حصوله على جائزة مهمة الابتكار العالمية ضمن 19 عالم حول العالم 2019، وقد حصل على الميدالية الذهبية للحصول على براءة اختراع في أبريل 2007 من المعرض الدولي 35 للاختراعات للطاقة، تقنيات ومنتجات جديدة في جنيف، وهو عضو لتوصيات سياسات الطاقة المتجددة والنظيفة في مجموعة الدول 20 لعام 2020، والذي قبلت توصياته في 20 دولة العظمى.
شكرا جزيلا عزيزتي غادة. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. معكم المحاضر حصة إبراهيم العبدان من قسم الفيزياء في كلية العلوم والدراسات الإنسانية، والعضو في لجنة البحث العلمي. بإذن الله نبتدي هذا السيمينار، فليتفضل المكرم الأستاذ الدكتور حسام الدين خنكار لإلقاء هذه الندوة.
شكرا لكم على هذه الدعوة، وأشكركم على المقدمة، وأرجو إن شاء الله تكون المحاضرة مفيدة للمجموعة وللجميع. كما أيضا ودي أرسلت التويترز حق one of my assistants here, so you can. طبعا المحاضرة going to be بالإنجليش، فأرجو يعني اسمحوا لي عذرا إذا كان في أحد is not aware with the informations. Okay.
شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور.
Also that but يعني الأسئلة ممكن تكون بالعربي، معليش ما عندي مشكلة. البرزنتيشنز المحاضرة طبعا البرزنتيشن is going to be quite long, so I'm trying to as much as I can wrap it up أساس تكون الفائدة تعم على الكل والجميع. واضحة عندكم البرزنتيشنز؟
واضح بروفيسور، الله يخليك.
اوكي. Well, basically, we're going to talk about the CAC's missions for solar innovations to advance national industry economy toward CO2 reductions. And this is one of the issues that's the commitments from Saudi with the international, to fulfill the international's commitments with the CO2 reductions, as well as developing in the national economy for the industry to have sustainable energy and sustainable economy for our country. I'm going to cover overview. I'm going to cover the energy value chain, the CAC's history of solar energy projects, CAC's KSA renewable resources assessment, concentrated photovoltaic, which is one of the products. I cannot cover everything because CAC's been 40 years. CAC's world records, what we've been having world records, smart renewable energy, which is very important, as you hear right now, a lot of smart TVs, smart cell phone. And we will talk about the Saudi desalination initiative objectives, Al-Khafji desalinations plans, which is one of the largest solar plants in the world here in Saudi. We should be proud of that. Localizing the industry, it's not only we building things and we buy it from outside. No, we're trying to localize PV and CPV reliability. Also, that's, as you probably knows, that the PV, it's acting like for 25 years, so it needs to be reliable and tested in the certified laboratories. Energy economy assessment and conclusions. This is the value chain for the energy. When you have a country as Saudi Arabia, quite big country with a high demand of energy, that you need to have a conventional, you have to have mix of energy. So you need to have conventional energy, power plants, and you have to have also renewable energy to support, because God blessed us with so many renewable energy free of charge. We don't have to pay for it. We don't have to destroy the environment with the CO2 emissions. It's quite clean. Also, that storage energy is very important. How to play with smart grids and the energy consumptions as Saudi efficient centers. As you know, that's the demands of the every day Saudi consumes about 60 gigawatts. And this peak, its load is increasing year by year. And if you see that the population is increasing by 2%, but the growth of the demand on the electricity increase 5%. And this means that we're burning more oil locally. If we are producing right now 13 million barrels of oil, and we're using about 4 million to satisfy fulfill the local demand, and we are selling the other, the remaining of the 8 barrel of oil to support our economy. This is not going to be, if it's increasing this in 15 years, we shouldn't have any barrel of oil to sell it internationally, export it. So that's why we went to have the renewable energy, since we have plenty of that, and we can even have all our renewable energy, at least the base, fossil fuel and nuclear, and the peak, we can fulfill it with the renewable energy, particularly that it's coherent with the demand for the air conditioning with the sun increase. This slide, it's very important. I want you to be very attention to this, which is the total, the technology readiness levels. It's well done in the developed countries. And in the developing countries, there is a quite big gap between the knowledge development and the business development. And this gap, it's in most of the developing countries. They have a lot of research in the universities, a lot of patents, but all on the shelf. You cannot sell it, you cannot use it, you cannot utilize it, you cannot benefit for it, although it's been investing a lot of money to do those. And in developing countries also, that's the industry and the business models, usually they make factories that's to fulfill the market. but they never develop any products locally or to do anything that's very important for the community and for the country itself. That's why CACS has realized that long time ago that there is a TRL 4 and 5 and 6, which is the big gap between the knowledge development and business development, which is the technology development, and took this initiative to cover these things. Okay, so concentrate on this slide. And I will talk today about the visions of the Water and Energy Research Institute, which is one of the 7 institutes in King Abdulaziz City for Science and Technologies. And the vision for this to be the lead energy institute in the heart of the Middle East and North Africa MENA area. Also, that's collaborations, R&D, and with a national and international enterprise to develop the state-of-the-art technology that's suitable for the regions. Also, that the WERI, which is the Water and Energy Institute, is a long-term vision, is to promote renewable energy and help building local industry of most relevant energy solutions to the kingdom and the regions. And if you look here, that's from the 1994, that's our scientific publication been increased in Saudi Arabia by supporting all this. And we're trying to push, because most of the publications comes from when you have something tangible or something that's useful. And this is the high publication it was in Ma'rifa 1 and Ma'rifa 2 and knowledge localizing. And when you compare with the Gulf or with the Egypt, which is one of the biggest population and scientist countries, we still looks in better positions. And even the patents and granted patents also, that's if you look and according to the World Intellectual Properties Organizations, that's our patents, this is little, the 700, we have increased more than that in the Ma'rifa 1 and Ma'rifa 2. Well, I'll go back to when they started, it was the National Center for Solar, Saudi National Center for Science and Technology. It established in 1977, and it was a leading research institute collaboration, and we concentrated from day one, 1977, on renewable energy, because we had the people at that time, they had the visions, they knew that solar it's going to be a breaking through over years. And we had established the solar village at that time and installed 12 stations. I'll go back, and we had the first agreement was with the American program called Solaris. And this Solaris was 1977 to develop so many projects. Okay, some of those projects I will mention to it, which is the solar village. It was the first CPV farms at that time in the world, and still existing the good state-of-the-art designing at that time that made the CPV in the solar village still survive after 40 years in the harsh environment. And in 1984, we have had a desalination also that we looked for. That time we were looking for water because we don't have rivers, so we were very short, so we want to have a water security. And we had a pilot project in Yambo for 200 cubic meters per day. And high solar, hydrogen by solar, as you probably know, that there is 3 kinds of hydrogen productions. You have the brown hydrogen, the blue hydrogen, and the green hydrogen. And the green hydrogen comes from the renewable energy. So we had a collaboration with the German in 1986 to produce hydrogen from solar. And you know that hydrogen is has high energy demand on it, and especially for SABIC right nowadays. And to do any solar project, you would not be able to do it without the reassessment of the solar radiation. So we installed 12 stations around the kingdom to cover and to do the TMY, which is a meteorological model year. And we, in 1994, we have built also a seduced desalinations. It's a 15 liters per day. And this was in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, that we're getting brackish water standalone. And 1996, we have also lit 2 tunnels in Asir height, because to have power reach to those tunnels, it costs a lot of money to extend those grid connections. So we built a standalone system over there, and 2 tunnels being lit. For our greenhouse applications, also we've been practicing that a lot to see how is it. In 2000, when we built the first satellite that's launched to the space, Saudi 1 and Saudi Sat, that was contributed by CATS. And 2016, we have had the initiative of King Abdullah to secure the water desalination, and it was the first project is Al-Khafji. Also, that's in the 80s, in the late 80s and the early 90s, we have tried to help the manufacturer to build the solar heaters for domestic hot water system in the housing and in the industry for the domestic hot water system. So we built a total factories, or the heart of the factories. And it was order came from the Ministry of Industry at that time. Also, that's Saudi Arabia is famous of dates. So we wanted to have natural solar dryers dates. We have built a huge dryer for the dates to dry the dates. And because the old days that you used to have those dates putting on the ground, and some of those fleas that comes to it or destroy the dates. But in the clean solar dryers, it's much better. Also, that's in the thermal part that we covered also 2 dishes, that's stirring engines, that's parabolic dish that's give 50 kilowatt each dish for energy. And we had tested also that domestic hot water and some of the small for the universities, like the the cookers, solar cooker or heaters or air conditioning by absorption system. Also, some of the things that national, you probably seen right now when you go to buy appliance, they tells you that this refrigerator or conditioner, how many stars does it have? This is comes from the CACs, from the national, our research center. We started the National Energy Efficient Programs. It called NEEP, and then after that became separate entities, which is Saudi Energy Efficient Centers, كفاءة المركز السعودي لكفاءة الطاقة. And also that we are going in the buildings, energies conversions, because a lot of consumptions, our consumptions goes to the energy. So we had to look about the buildings in the energy in the building to see the management, how you can store in the buildings the energy. Also, we have tested even the courtyard, the Islamic courtyard buildings, to see the orientations and how's to save the energy of the building or the envelope, whether it is a hotel or a hospital or an industrial district or residentials. In the last 5 years, we have installed residentials PV. As you know, the Saudi Electric Company has approved that's to install solar PV in your roof. So we had tried that the last 5 years, that we installed in Kaust, one of the residential houses in Kaust. We installed PV, and we installed one residential also in Jeddah, which as you can see, it's all the lighthouse in here, lit house. It's all by solar. And we, here in Riyadh, we have installed also 2 schools, government schools with photovoltaic. Excuse me. And in Turkey Al-Awwal, we have installed in Riyadh one mosque, Jami'a Al-Hikmah. We installed 124 kilowatt for a mosque, and it's been working. And in Taif, we have installed 1 megawatt for utility scales to utilize it for hydrogen productions. And the last not least is desalinations. Al-Khafji is 10 megawatt plants in Al-Khafji, which is, we're going to talk about it later on. One of the most important things is the resources. It's very important that you have to evaluate the resources. As you see, there is a 7-spot, very good solar radiation around the world. God has gifted Saudi one of those, which is near Tabuk, as you see in the map. Here, that's near Tabuk area. That's the DNI, very high DNI. And that will let you know what kind of technology you start working on. As you know, that we in the 80s that we start working on CPV, because CPV is required high DNI. But it doesn't mean that the whole Saudi Arabia does not benefit from the solar, because there's others technology that will be good for other areas. But the most important is to reassessment of those resources around the kingdom. So that's why we have installed 12 solar stations and monitors those. And we are also, other technologies is the wind technology. We have installed also 5 or 8 wind stations to monitor those and to collect those data for a longer time, including ambient temperature, relative humidity, and pressures and installations. And we have published 4 atlas, 2 for solar and 2 for wind. And one of the wind is offshore, it's on the Gulf. It's not onshore, it's offshore. So we can, if we have investors, they want to have a land to do, to install their farms offshore, so they can install it. If they have a problem with the land, we can give them offshore in the oceans or in the Arabian Gulf. Well, if we're talking about the CPV, as I mentioned, that DNI required, this is the solar village. It was installed in 1981, 350 kilowatt to cover 3 villages to supply them with electricity. It's in near Riyadh area in Al-Uyaina, and the concentrations was 33 sun, the concentration ratio. And we had that plans, it was PMMA, and the trackers, we have 64 modules in each trackers, and in each modules that we had 256 cells. Okay. And from that technology, we also went to develop the ultra high concentration, and instead of going for 33 sun concentration, we went for higher concentration. So we had a collaboration with IBM to develop our product. It's ultra high concentrations. And the reason that we went also, that when you compare different technology of multi-junction solar cell or silicon PV or thin films, if you look at the efficiencies, that's for the multi-junction solar cells, it reached almost 50. Nowadays, Enreal, they have announced 3 months ago that they reach 50% efficiency of multi-junction solar cell, where the efficiency of the silicon that goes about 24, and the thin films goes to 18. But when you go to try to do the modules to get the DC, that efficiency start dropping down when you're matching those. And when you go from module to system, also that's dropped down dramatically. And the other advantages, that's the temperatures in the multi-junction solar cells, the efficiency usually dropped, but in a multi-junction, it does not drop as much as it dropped from the silicon. And basically the CPV is a concentrated that you have Fresnel lens, or you have a mirror that concentrate a large area where the sun beating to a small area. But sometimes the temperature goes up, which is in our case, that's how you design these things to have 1600 sun without damaging the cells. So they have to have a very good passive cooling systems instead of active cooling, because the active cooling, it's required, it gives you more efficiencies, but it required more investment and more work. And we have had generations. When we just looked, as you look at the chart here, we study before we go to which concentration we want to go. We have studied the world market for CPV, and we realized that all this company, Ammonix, Soitec, ISFOC, BSQ, Solar, and we wanted to be in top of that. Okay, Anycasting from Korea, Sampras, as all those. So we study the market before we start our research. And we said that this is the highest concentration, which is 1400 sun. We want to be 1600 sun, whatever the market, because the advantage of that is the more you make concentration, the more power comes from smaller area. Okay, so we had achieved that. We have generation 1, all the CPV. We learn a lot from it. Generation 1, generation 2, and generation 3 and 4. Right now we have even more generations. And as you see, that's in our chart. We had the highest also CAX modules, and trackers are one of the high concentrations with a passive cooling. We did not use any active cooling, although we are having a very harsh environment. And this is our product. We have installed it from the last 8 years, since 2010 or 9 years in Al-Khafji. This is Al-Khafji, okay? And we had module efficiency 33 sun, and the concentrations and the cell package with a multi-junction solar cell. We have used gallium arsenide. And also that we have installed, it's not the issues, as I mentioned earlier in the first slide, I talked about that, the technology readiness. It's not the point that you do research only once and you say that's achieved for publication. The most important, you had to have it installed, survive in different locations. So we have installed it for more than 9 years to see the dust, the high temperature, the wind, the rainstorm, the humidity affect the ice, the hurricanes, the hails, the lightning. And we have installed our product in 4 locations around the world. Denver, Colorado at NREL, the National Renewable Energy Lab in United States, and in Al-Khafji, Saudi Arabia, and Yorktown Heights in the USA, and the Solar Village. And the reason we picked those 4 locations because it has different weather environment. In Denver, it's very cold and very dry. In Al-Khafji, it's very humid, it's very hot. In Yorktown, it's very humid and very cold. In Solar Village, it's very dry and very hot. And we had our trackers, 2 hurricanes pass by it, and the second, Irina and Sandy. And the second day, the tracker was producing power normally. Well, when there were competitions, the most important thing is also that when you have different technology and you are aware of the international roadmap of all the technologies, and to be in these situations, because sometimes it's not only the technology affecting, is the economical also affecting. So when we had the competition between PV and CPV competing with the prices to install the farm and utility scales, and the Chinese dumped a lot of the PV, so the prices dropped down almost twice the prices of the CPV. So we had to go for another solutions. What we found solutions at that time, because we were aware that we had combined the CPV, the ultra high CPV, with the active cooling, as this is 28 dishes in the NOFA farm Al-Mara'i, and also that we have combined the CPV with the hydrogen productions. And this is very important. When you are aware with the technology, you can easily maneuvers with the technology and economy. And we had, during our research in the huge CPV, we had about more than 75 patents being awarded internationally. Also, that's CACs have pushed, we had a very, the largest clean room in the Middle East. It's about 1,600 square meters of class 100 and class 1,000. And we had a lot of producing the solar and transferring technology in Saudi Arabia, it required this clean room, because you cannot work only in we have a glove box, but also we have the clean room. So you have to have wet processing sections, which is electric plating bench and development bench, and solving dry etching and wet etching and MOCVD and MBE to produce that kind of technologies. Because we want to cover, as a government, we have to have all kind of technologies, because if something like what happened with us in the ultra high CPV, the prices dropped down, we had to push the other technologies. So as a government, we had to have all the technologies under our umbrellas and all aware with it, because it's changing from day to day, those technologies. And the high efficiency and low solar cells for Saudi Arabian environment, that's our spectrum need to be designed, our solar cells or our technology photovoltaic for our spectrum in the, as I mentioned, that Saudi Arabia is quite big country and required in every area that different technology that we utilize it to have the maximum power output, like flexible solar cells or high efficiency gallium arsenide solar cell or low cost perovskite solar cells. And we have a collaboration with so many universities and research centers to develop those things, and MIT, Berkeley, and the EPFL or IBM and industry, we own solar junctions, and we Northwestern, Fraunhofer, and we have worked also, we have another team, they're working on heterojunction solar cells to achieve the highest efficiency for the heterojunction solar cells, because it is promising. Whatever technology that's extended, we keep competing with our different teams in CACs, within CACs, to achieve the goal internationally. And we have reached to a very high efficiency, and we tune our spectrum when we design the cell to fulfill our spectrum in Saudi Arabia for the area that we might have an investment. So the MBE is growing for gallium arsenide alloy of the solar cell for the CPV. And we are also going for 4 junction and 6 junctions. This is the small reactors here that we're building and we're working, and the perovskite. And we had the world record. This is this chart. It has all the world contributed since 1975, all technologies, SANU, IBM or Spectrolab, Boeing, Arcos, all the people, they contributed in the photovoltaic for different technology, thin film, single crystal, multi-junction cluster. And we had 2 world records in 2013 to 2014. We had the highest efficiencies record, as you see and showing to you. With the working with the international technology to transfer the technology to build our own silicon, pure silicon series is one of the leading methods of knowledge and purity of silicon. And this is very important, that's to have an objective to design and build an operating pilot plants in Saudi here. So to transfer and digesting the knowledge here, it's very important, because nowadays, if you don't invest in this, no one will give you the technologies. You have to have your own people to develop that, because if that's mean you're losing money. If you go to someone like Yangli or something like that, said, I want to see what's the technology, they will not give it to you. So you have to come from the research in TRL 4 or 3 or 5 to start with them so they can trust it giving you those informations, because you're going with them in research facilities. I'll try to expedite. From the people that we've been working also, that CAC's been working with Berkeley's, and we had scientists that we've been working. After they work with CAC's, they have been rewarded the King Faisal international prize. This is Omar Yagi. He's been working in the MOF for using the MOF for this application, saving 90% of the energy used required to separate carbon dioxide using traditional solutions. Also, this is very important for the desert area to demonstrate that carbon dioxide can be separating the solid materials in presence of waters. So we can extract waters from the area of the desert, okay? And also that we've been working in 2013, we had established laser leading technology with the University of California at Santa Barbara. And surprisingly, after being working with Fuji, Shuji Nakamura, he won the Nobel Prize. So we've been working, that's he first single chip, and we've been working with this guy before he get the Nobel Prize, because we selected the centers that we in the top of the world for the leading knowledge. So he, in December, after we started working with the Shuji, and we pushed hard, Shuji Nakamura, in December, he won Nobel Prize in Physics. And he got the world record for green LED. And CACS also, we are awarded that by Technia right now, and partners in JV to manufacture the laser, that sort of laser. And we've been working also to separate, develop a new cells for hydrogen. The high demand, as you know, SABIC is one of the, for fertilization, they need a lot of ammonia and hydrogen. So we need to find a cheaper, particularly after the cost of the energy from the Saudi electric company being lift up higher on everyone, the industry being affected badly. So they start coming to us and saying, SABIC, we need to have a cheaper hydrogen. So one of the technologies that we have used are photocatalysis, water splitting, and photovoltaic electrolysis. And also that's, as I mentioned, that the buildings, we have a lot of building glasses, and we have worked on nano coating for energy efficient that to penetrate the infrared, so to minimize the heat are penetrating our environment or our envelope our houses, to make sure that our air conditioning does not consume a lot. So we developed that here in locals. Also that insulations, a porous ceramic that's with high insulations, and glass ceramic, and advanced glass coating, and insulation, very nano clay polymer compositions. Also that the buildings consume about 80% of our electricity, and the air conditioning consumed also a lot of the energy. So we have establishing and building key for having a focus on air conditioning, thermal insulation, lighting, white, and looking for, we are trying to reach to minimize that, to drop it to, instead of 70 to 50 by doing a smart house, making the buildings efficient from the insulation, the air conditioning, the lighting, for the LED. That's why the team, they're working with the Shuji Nakamura. Also that we have one of the other things that when Nobel Prize, another Nobel Prize, also that we've been working with the Northwestern Joint Centers, Integrated Nano Systems, we developed organic photovoltaic devices to build the high efficiency nanostructures, plastic solar cells. And this guy also in 2007, he won the King Faisal's Prize. And in 2016, Fraser's students, Sir Fraser students, he won the Nobel Prize. So when you're looking at what CAC's been looking, they do not we want to work with the top in the world. So at least we would like to have where they end everyone. We don't want to start where they started. We started where they ended. So at least we can achieve. This is another 2009, the guy who novel integrated, hosted the organic guest and materials to make high photoluminescence efficiency with 18s. Also, that's the games in the laser and the LED and the PV, that you will have a LED that will be high efficiency and fabricated the world best copper oxide based solar cell using a nano vacuum techniques. And it was, the LED is 10 times compared with the previous publications. That's with Cambridge. We also, low. Now the technology, nowadays you will hear a lot about the perovskite. Perovskite, it's going to be a lot cheaper than the photovoltaic. The photovoltaic right nowadays, that you can reach to 2 cents per kilowatt hours. So when we break through with the perovskite, we are working hard right now. We developed very high efficiencies of perovskite solar cells here in Saudi. But right now we're working on a module scales to improve that and to make it larger, these things. And we had a world record that, by the way. Also, that's the same chart. If you look at the perovskite, it comes, we had 24% efficiencies. EPFL, we've been working, collaborating with the Swiss Lausanne at the universities. And again, this is one of the NRELs or international chart. That's, if you look, the Korean was beating us and in the perovskite, and then we beat the Korean in 2000, I think 14 as well, or 16. And it was by working with us also that this guy in 2014, Gritzels, he's a close friend of mine, world record and 21 announced in 2016. Saudi reached 2 Saudi PhD. We also sent people to work with the Gritzels. 2 PhD students have been working there. They're been doing very good, and they had submitted so many patents internationally and developed and characterized and double 3 and 4 quotient perovskite solar cells. And the smart renewable, as I mentioned, that smart renewable energy and connecting to the grid, it's very important. We cannot have that away from the smart technologies that need to be taken care. Smart grid accommodation, because power is fluctuated by generation, different when you have a mix of energy, enabling new production services, ensure that the power quality does not affect it, optimizing, assessing utilization, operation efficiencies, operating realistic disturbance. So we don't want anything to disturb our network. So the smarting is working. We have a team working in regulators and supplying the companies with the enrichment, customer experience services. We have a team really working hard on how to make the Saudi electric company smarter, and to do the marketing and to support the environment also. I will go faster a little bit because so much information. Smart grid solutions, advanced forecasting. That's when you are having the smart inverters to invert from DC to AC to not to lose a lot. When the demand responded in the area or city, you can transfer between cities or between districts. Integrated storage, that's to make it more economic. That's you need to see the real-time system awareness and management. Also, the smart meters in everybody's house. It's very important that we're working with even local industry here, Al-Fanar and Saudi Electric Company, and with the research with the KFUPM and NREL. One of the most important, the prediction and the challenging that need to be, we not always having a bright side. We always have also that we have a very harsh environment we live in compared with the Europeans that they've been developing. They don't have those issues. As you see the dust, this is Riyadh, and this is the kingdom buildings. Can you see how's the dust, how aggressive is the sandstorm? Also, not only in Riyadh, that we have also immigrated dust coming from Africa. This is the Red Sea on the right pictures. That's dust storm comes from Africa and goes to the kingdom and deposit a lot of the bottom pictures here. This is a photovoltaic. It produced zero after that dust storm. By the way, this tracker, we kept it in purpose to see how much affecting, because the other trackers, we design it to go upside down. So when the dust comes, the system goes upside down. And this is why you need to have a smart predictions, a smart system that's predict that the dust coming, and then the system, instead of destroying and need a lot of work to clean, that you put the system upside down. Also that the UV in destroying all the components and the materials for when we start manufacturing, which is I'm gonna talk about it later, and the high temperatures that's affecting also reach the peak at 50 degrees ambient temperatures in Saudi. Also, we had to look at the wind directions, because the wind is another parameters that bringing the dust. All the dust does not come by itself, it comes with the wind. So we had to look at the wind directions for every seasons, from September to November, and from December to February, and from June to August. That's where the direction of the wind. So at least when you design the system, you know where to design in which locations. And we have took also the different minerals from different desert in Saudi, to find out in the Dhanat near Tabuk, and Rimah near Riyadh, and Thumama and Khafji, and to see what kind of minerals comes, because when we go, we study the kind of dust that will make us the industry. When we localize the materials, we localize it according to the area that's those minerals. If the potassium affecting more into the silicon, for example, ceiling, we don't want that we install something and then will be destroyed after 10 years or 15 years, because the banks, who supported the bankability, the investors, they give you the money, and you should give them a guarantee that the system will work for 25 years. So to have every tiny information, it's very important, from the solar radiation that coming from the sun, all the way to the productions of the power, whatever comes through those. Also, we had to go for what our framing, when you go scaling up for the modules, okay, you have to think about the advantage of frameless. If you look back, I will go back to this. If you look at this panel at the bottom here, you see the dust are coming at the bottom of the panels. And the reason for that, because we have a frame here, this frame start where the seeds of the dust accumulation start there. And the funny things in Riyadh area, that's after the dust storm, we have rain usually. And all the dust will be like muddy. And if it get dry, the second day we'll have sunny, it will be like cement. So it's very difficult to clean those. So when you have a frameless modules, that will allow, first of all, the dust will drop down, will not stick, will not building up, easy to maintain. The cost is less because you trying to minimize even the material of the component. The weight of the module will be less, okay? Less material, trackers. If it's less weight, that means your trackers, it's less. Also, that's when you have the trackers, stop positions, that's, as I mentioned earlier, that you go upside down, that will minimize the risk when you have a hails, or bifacials. Bifacials also, that you have all the dust, if you put it verticals, that all the dust will go away. It does not get stick. Okay, enhanced cleaning much easier goes also. The cost effective. In flat position, the humid desert area, flat position is not recommended because yes, it is easy for robotics to clean it, but the cost, a lot of accumulations, you have to clean periodically. And that robotics or human power that's required a lot of people working a lot of monies. So any solution need to be discussed properly and carefully. This is pictures of the trackers. That's if you don't design it or you don't have the meteorological, typical meteorological year well established and well designed. As you see, this is investment. After 2 years, the wind came and destroyed the whole farm. If you invested like $40 million, if you don't, it's supposed to be that 40 million will return your money back and survive for 25 years. But this is the second year it's been destroyed, these things. So we are studying this very carefully when we are designing or installing any of those I mentioned early, that's farms that we installed in Saudi. Also the predictions of the cloud, that's you have to have an eye to see, because the customers and the electric customers, he's not going to be, if you tell him, oh, it's cloudy, so I cannot supply you with electricity. He would say, oh, sorry, I have hospitals, I have people sick, they cannot avoid that to cut power on me. So those predictions, you have to do the management and to be smart of the predictions for the power. Also with the storage, this is one of the things that it's been the policy one that you mentioned about the G20, that's how to play with the energy management between water and hydrogen desalinations and energy storage. Okay, the initiative for desalination, you all know that Saudi Arabia doesn't have river and we have shortage of water, and water being consuming a lot of oil, burning a lot of oil to supply the water. So the water is one of the precious for the desert area. So we have submitted initiative of 4 phases. The first phase was constructed a solar power desalination plants in Al-Khafji with a production of 30,000 cubic meter per day. The second phase is to produce 300,000 cubic meter per day, also by solar. And the third phase is all the desalination in the kingdom will be with renewable energy. And if we reach to 14 cents per cubic meter per day, which is very, very cheap, it will be used for agriculture. And we started in Al-Khafji locations, all the city of Al-Khafji been drinking waters by desalination, because we started that project in 2016. Actually, this photovoltaic, but we started the CPV before that to test, as I mentioned, I have installed the ultra high CPV, but we found out it's not good. So we had to have the photovoltaic to build the desalination plants, capacity 30,000 cubic meter per day. And so we built 10 megawatt. And the good things about the Khafji project that we have extended it to 60,000 cubic meter per day. And for the future, for the people that's 60,000 inhabitants lived in Khafji, and if it gets larger and larger, still we can supply them with water. We will not be shortage of water for them. This is a Khafji plant. As you see, that's the solar farm. And this video shows, I'll leave you with the video, at least I'll take my breath a little bit. Well, the most important, as I mentioned, not to install those farms. The most important is to localize those things, to be having the technology. So those are the value chain for the photovoltaic. You have to have the cell, the module, the tracker, the inverters, the mounting system, the EPC and O&M, and monitor that even after it's been working since 2018. It's been I've been monitoring this farm to see how their performance in plant testing. So this is very important to localize all this R&D improvement also. So if I took only the value chains of the, we break it down to components, as you see, the polycrystalline, the that's the ingot, the cell, the modules, the PV, and the others. All this we've been looking, everyone does need inverters, support capacity, batteries, string inverters, and also that we tackles only the things that will be affecting the economy of the kingdom. We don't want only the things, we look at the OPEX and the CAPEX. It's where we can improve the technology that will be economically viable or benefiting the kingdom for it. And this also that we have a factory in the solar village. We built our own modules, and we look in every component in the modules, the frame, the junction box, aluminum frame, glass, and all those companies are local here. So we try to localize from the silicon to all the way to the steel, cables, everything we localize it. Glass, subkeying for EVA, improving the EVA, because the EVA that's they're selling, for example, in the modules coming from other countries, after 20 years, it get brownish because the UV is high here. So we design with Subkeen, which is one of the SABIC companies, the EVA to improve that will survive in our environment. This is the factory. I'll leave you also, that's the factories that's here in the solar village. Also, we try to improve, as I mentioned, in the metallizations for the new generations of the PV. We're trying to look what we can do to improve the efficiency, the covering, the mesh, the back printing. Also, that's another technologies that we have drill a hole into the cell so we have the back contact, not only all in the front will be in the back, so you wouldn't see anything in the front. So this will allow the solar radiation to strike more silicon, so there won't be any shading and the power will be higher. Our product being installed, this is a CAX product, polycrystalline, being installed in Europe, in China, and some, but to go to Europe, it required to be approved. Also, that's the inverter, the string inverter. This is the inverter being, we have a factory for the inverters. We're testing here, we assemble the inverters. In Al Khafji, when we have a central inverters, we took those team here, they've been working in the solar village. We send them to our partners, which is Chen in China, and let them working with the Chinese in the production line to produce our inverters for Al Khafji. So at least they will know the technology when they're scaling up the grid from string inverters, 50 kilowatt to 2 megawatt inverters, central inverters. They knew the knowledge, they knew the technology with the high efficiencies of 95 and improving even the harsh environment, because they are from Saudi and they know how hot, how dusty is this area. As I mentioned, that if you want to install our product, it's not only manufacturing, you have to have reliability lab, certified reliability lab. And to get the certification, it takes auditing, that people come and check on your lab for reliability, and you have to test for 4 years. And you have to test those, simulate the dusty environment, you simulate the temperature fluctuating from high and low temperature. And you have to have this entities, is CATS entities, but it is separate. We cannot interfere in this reliability lab because it has to be required. And we have added the desert protocol, the offshore protocol, and the farm protocol to make our components, our PV is more reliable and recognized around the world. And if it works in a harsh environment in Saudi, believe me, it will work anywhere in the world, even in the Himalayas, because we go to minus 40 degrees in those chambers in the right pictures. And the real value in Al-Khafji, that's the electricity, that's the 10 megawatt, it's 500 millions kilowatt hours for that's the economical. So the 2 cent cost, we have, if we are using the commercially according to ICRA, that will be 40 million saving. And if we use in the government electricity, this is going to be $43 saving. And for residentials and industrial, which is 18 halalas, is 24 millions saving. And not only the saving the money for the Ministry of Finance, but also that's we benefiting from the reductions of 364 tons of CO2 emission when you are producing that amount of energy over 25 years. Also, that's we are saving 136 trees from burning. That's cutting trees and burning trees because saving that. And also, which is the most important, that we don't burn about 319 barrels of oil during this time. This is considered to be the real value, which is saving the planet. I'll conclude here by saying that CACs play a major role in developing technology and completing the technology readiness gap in the nations. Desalination seawater by solar energy, a low cost, contribute to the kingdom water security, because it's very important to have a water security, and support the national economy by saving those oil burning. Providing a large pilot project to support the national industry. Creating a research cluster for university to be into the industry value chain. Enrichment the national economy by localizing advanced technologies, and also most important things, that's creating a job opportunities for the youth and the young and educating the public, and follow the technologies trend worldwide. And this will continue. Hopefully all the teams CACs will continue and enlarge these things. Thank you for your time. And I'm ready to answer any question.
شكرا بروفيسور حسام خنكار. أبى أشارك الشاشة الآن. تمام؟
No problem. تفضلي.
طيب، نشكر سعادة الأستاذ الدكتور حسام الدين خنكار على تلبية الدعوة وإقامة هذا السمينار المميز والغني بالمعلومات القيمة، كما هو تتقدم كلية العلوم والدراسات الإنسانية في الجبيل التابعة لجامعة الإمام عبدالرحمن بن فيصل بتقديم شهادة شكر وتقدير إلى سعادة الأستاذ الدكتور حسام الدين خنكار. شكرا جزيلا دكتور حسام على هذه المعلومات القيمة. نشكرك على تلبية الدعوة. الله يجزاك خير بروفيسور. طيب بروفيسور، الله يجزاك خير بروفيسور. الآن بإذن الله نبدأ فقرة Q&A، فأنا بقرأ لك الأسئلة، وإذا كان يعني نحاول نقرأ على قد ما نقدر لأنه ما شاء الله الأسئلة كثيرة، فبإذن الله نبدأ. هنا جانا السؤال من دكتور هاني البطران: يقدر العمر الافتراضي لنضوب النفط من 70 ل 80 سنة، ولكن قد يكون أقل من هذه الفترة بسبب التطور السريع في الطاقات المتجددة. متى يمكن الاستغناء عن النفط كما تم الاستغناء عن الفحم؟
طبعا المملكة مرتبطة ارتباط مع الانترناشنال، والمؤتمر ريو دي جانيرو ومؤتمر كيوتو ومؤتمر باريس بروتوكول للاحتباس الحراري والدول الصناعية اللي بتزيد الكاربون ايميشنز. السعودية part of that. ولذلك احنا it doesn't mean انه عندنا اويل نقوم نستغني عن الطاقة المتجددة، بالعكس احنا نبقى نشارك الكل على اساس انه احنا we save الاويل ده لل next generation and when it's needed because it is in the natural storage له ملايين السنين، فقدر حاجتنا ممكن ناخذ منه. والاشياء other thing is cheaper the energy and cleaner, so this is available. يعني الحمد لله كل يوم بتشرق عندنا الشمس، يمكن 350 يوم الشمس بتشرق عندنا. فيعني بكره الايام اللي راحت دي كلها فلوس راحت من شروق الشمس لغروبها. بتعطيك الارقام اللي ذكرتها في اخر سلايد البرزنتيشنز، انه عندك فلوس بتروح عليك للجنريشن الثانيه وسيفنج انرجي وسيفنج الاويل. ف why not we use both، يعني انرجي ميكس. لما يكون في حاجه للنفط نستخدمه. This is my يعني my interpretations للسيتويشن الان.
الله يسلمك بروفيسور حسام خنكار. طيب، في سؤال ثاني جانا من أنونيمس: ما هي فرص التدريب لخريجي الفيزياء العامة في مجال الطاقة الشمسية؟
والله احنا في المدينة عندنا كل سمستر وكل سنة يكون عندنا مجموعة من التدريبات، لكن أيضا هناك مجموعة من المشاريع، لأنه زي ما قلت احنا بنحاول تفل جاب بين التكنولوجي ريدنس، فنخلي مش بس التدريب أيضا ريسيرش، بحيث إن الجامعات يكون لها contributions، لأنه صراحة لا غنى عن الصناعة من الجامعات، لكن الجاب الكبير الصناعة ما عمرها تروح للجامعات، ما عمرها تروح، حتى لو إنها شيء desperate they need it they need someone يعني يتحمل الجزئية هذه اللي في النص بين filling the gap بالنسبة للتكنولوجيز، ويقدر ياخذ الانفستمنت في لأنها cost a lot of money to produce a pilot project with testing, proof of concept, we lock the design, so many process it takes to reach to that.
بروفيسور، يعني هل في إمكانية إحنا بما أنه طالباتنا إحنا زي ما تعرف عندنا برنامج فاتحينه حق الطاقة المتجددة، هل يعني طالباتنا ممكن يكون عندهم تطبيق ميداني في مدينة الملك عبد العزيز لمدة مثلا شهرين في الصيف؟
ممكن طبعا. طبعا انتم بالنسبة للقسم الفيزياء more it's going to be يعني في modeling، في sputtering، كل الشغل اللي بيكون indoor وفي الكلين روم it's available. وعندنا الامكانات ولله الحمد يجونا من الجامعات، جامعة الملك سعود، من جامعات حول الرياض ايضا بالامكان، لكن تعرف في الوقت الراهن things are not quite clear what's going to happen with the situation of corona. أنا عندي مادتين أدرسهم في من السمستر الماضي في جامعة الملك سعود، ما قدرت أخذهم فيلد تريب للسولار فيليج اللي أنا شغال فيها. يعني تعرف في regulations، في restrictions، ما ودك تأذي أحد ولا أحد يأذي الناس، فيعني السيتويشن خلينا نعدي إن شاء الله، الله يعديها على خير هذه الفترة، وإن شاء الله يكون خير إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله تعالى. الله يسلمك بروفيسور حسام. بروفيسور، في هنا سؤال جانا من Anonymous. How do I find research opportunities within the renewable fields in Saudi Arabia نحط يعني for unemployed degree holders؟ يعني إنه مش تابع الجامعة أو يعني سنتر لكن مثلا
very difficult. We have to be within a system because we cannot work with individuals, not only in Saudi, internationally. Anybody around the world, you know, they need to have organization, they need to have affiliated to organization, adjacent with any organizations. This is, that's normal, I think, around the world. So we have to have a reference.
Yeah, okay. هنا جانا هو سؤال أو تعليق. Polymer coatings might help in the passivation against dust. أظن يعني زي السؤال أو استفهام.
Yes, the polymer, it helps. We have the first CPV installed in the 80s was a PMMA, and but the design for the tracker, because the PMMA, it's not as strong as the glass, so it can be scratched when we have a dusty dust storm. Excuse me, عفوا. لكن trackers اللي design also, it was a state of the art that when we predict there is a dust storm, the position goes to stop positions, so against the wind, so it will not get affected, will get scratched the facials of the Fresnel lens.
شكرا جزيلا أستاذ دكتور حسام. عندنا هنا سؤال يقول Hi Professor, how can I access the data of the weather for study purposes? أظن يقصد اللي هي اللي عن الويند أطلس والسولار أطلس.
This will be in KKR's hand, because after we collected this and when KKR came out into the market or became we have moved all the data for the weather data for the wind atlas to KKR, and they have procedures. You can utilize those for the universities and for the research centers. Also, they have a procedures.
بإذن الله. تمام. شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور حسام. في سؤال هنا من رامي يعقوب. Good evening everybody and hello professor. May I ask if COVID-19 is affecting the development and implementation of the clean energy schemes discussed?
Well, definitely it is affecting. It's affecting all the industries, not only the clean energy, but the research, it did affect us. We have 3 or 5, I think 5 experiment with National Renewable Energy Lab. They have selected CAC, Saudi Arabia, as one of the 8 locations they selected around the world to put the coupon and the sample and testing. And we've been finding difficulties even after 4 years we've been doing this experiment. This year is the worst year that we cannot even do a measurement, because a lot of the labs has high precautions or not allowed to go, or even they want to destroy our samples. And you cannot do when you have samples that you've been doing experiment around the world for 5 years. Every year or every season you're measuring that and you put it back in the sun or in the harsh environment and you want to test it, and you tell me that I have to destroy it because of coronaviruses. This is a physics sample. It's not the biological samples. But you know, corona is being new for everyone, and no one knows how to deal with anything. So it's troubleshooting and trial and error. So, but it is affecting us definitely. You know, the number of research, the economy has been affected. Everything has been affected. I would be not saying the truth if I could say no, it's not. It's affecting. It's not affecting.
شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور حسام. في هنا سؤال جانا. Is there a huge research going on energy storage in Saudi Arabia?
Yes, I haven't put that. We have a huge department in the energy storage, and we have a big team. They're working in the energy, whether in the battery or chemical storage or other form of storage, hydrogen, we have in CACS, as I mentioned, we have 7 institutes. In the energy institute and water, we have about 6 centers. Every center for energy storage, air conditioning, power qualities, renewable energy, solar. So we have people working in storage. And as you see, the lithium batteries is being developed rapidly, and we have contributed, and also that's for the satellite batteries.
ما شاء الله. أوكي بروفيسور، جزاك الله خير على الإجابة. جانا سؤال هنا من يبدو لي من أحد طالباتنا. يعطيك العافية بروفيسور، ندوة مفيدة جدا. ممكن نعرف حنا كطالبات طاقة متجددة كيف راح يكون مستقبل تخصصنا؟
Definitely بالنسبة للطالبات it's very important لأنه في منطقة كبيرة السبيكتروم حق الوركينج it's quite big. Modeling, as I mentioned, in the clean room, there is so many areas that the female can contribute into it. Definitely, I will not let my daughter or my sister that goes into the sun in the August or July to go measure the panels underneath the panels outdoor, because you know, everyone has to have his own capabilities and own missions. Yes, definitely it is some of the people that have strength to do, but there's a quite spectrum in sun simulators, in modeling, in sputtering, in depositions, and working in the reactors. All this can be worked, but it depends also that we're talking about so many majors. We're not talking about only physics. We're talking about mechanical strengths. When we extended the materials, optics, physics, it's very important because you're dealing with the radiation coming from the sun. So you know you need to divert it to see how you can benefit, because every second pass by, if you don't improve the catching of that radiations, it's gone. That photon is gone. You have to. So there's so many areas that you will be, your future going to be very important for you. But you have to look, and my advice to you guys, how to kind to be unique. That's you have to find where is the niche that's not a lot of people going into it. And you have to be specialized there, be pioneer there, be unique there.
شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور حسام. في عندنا هنا سؤال، هل استخدام الطاقة الحرارية المركزة أفضل في السعودية؟
الطاقة الحرارية المركزة كانت طبعا we look at the building energy in buildings، هذه كانت واحدة من الطاقة المتجددة اللي كانت تستخدم من رجل الكهف من ملايين السنين. اوكي، والتكنولوجي لما جاءت الطاقة الحرارية was very economical. Okay, so going from buildings energy to thermal energy to photovoltaic to perovskite, I'm giving you the economical why that scientists been developing. But as a country, also that's we need to have all kind of technologies. But الحرارية الآن الprices حق الفوتوفولتيك exceeded more than can compete with the Harari or the CPV or the other technologies. Even the wind, if you have a location doesn't have a high wind, زي الحمد لله برضو عندنا ربنا أعطانا حبانا بwind, a lot of wind locations in منطقة تبوك الشيخ حميد. So the technologies, you cannot say أفضل. It depends where you are. But in general, all the technology, right now they're working on DIBA for desalination by using thermal. It doesn't mean, or NEOM, they're working on distilled desalination. So it's mix and match. You cannot say which one is better than what. Tell me the location, tell me what's the data you have, and then I'll tell you what solutions better.
شكرا جزيلا الأستاذ الدكتور حسام خنكار. في عندنا سؤال جاء من الدكتور أحمد فرادي، هل تساعد مدينة الملك عبدالعزيز في إنشاء وتجهيز المعامل في الجامعات؟
We used to do that definitely لما كانت المنح موجودة، بس طبعا الآن المنح وقفت، لا زالت الأمور ما هي واضحة لسنة أو سنة وزيادة سنتين، الأمور ما هي واضحة. عملية تجهيز المعامل والمشاريع للمختبرات، بس عندنا مدينة الملك عبدالعزيز يعني منذ نشأتها وهي كانت تدعم كثير من الجامعات حتى بأجهزة كانت تفوق 4 ملايين. أنا عن أيام ما كنت مساعد مدير مشروع الهيدروجين بالطاقة الشمسية في ال80s. I remember جامعة البترول وجامعة الملك سعود وجامعة الملك عبدالعزيز, they all benefited from the SEM, TEM, all this very expensive equipment at that time. But they were supported, but right now it's all إدارة المنح، لأن مدينة الملك عبدالعزيز مقسومة قسمين، قسم معاهد البحوث وقسم دعم البحث العلمي في المملكة. فالدعم البحث العلمي ذات يضم السؤال هذا اللي سأل عنه الدكتور أحمد، على أساس إنه يعطيهم دعم البحث العلمي في الجامعات. بس زي ما قلت السنة الماضية وقفت ما بين الوزارة التعليم والأمور هذه لا زالت unstable.
شكرا جزيلا أستاذ الدكتور حسام. في عندنا برضه سؤال من الدكتور أحمد، هل للمدينة مشاريع في الطاقة الشمسية الحرارية؟ أظن يعني للشراكة البحثية.
طبعا احنا بدينا في ال80s، كان عندنا الستيرلينج ديش، كان عندنا مشاريع ما تذكرني الآن. أنا طبعا في المدينة لي 34 سنة في معهد الطاقة الشمسية، لكني كنت بشتغل في كذا مكان حول العالم في الطاقة الشمسية. وأول سعودي تخرج هندسة علوم طاقة شمسية بكالوريوس من أمريكا، فكنت أشتغل كمان في أنريل أيام البكالوريوس. اشتغلنا كثير بعملية الحرارة وحتى التراكينج والكونسنتريتد بالثيرمال، مش بالفوتوفولتيك. كنا شغالين بالتراكرز بالثيرمال بالحراري. الابسوربشن سيستمز، الاير كونديشننج بالحراري كنا شغالين فيها. عندنا بوبليكيشنز مره كثير من ال80s وال90s. يعني الديسالينيشن اللي ذكرته حق الينبع كان ثيرمال by crystallizing ice to desalinate by ice. يعني عندنا كانت مشاريع مرة كثيرة والحمد لله استفدنا منها كثير من النولج.
شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور حسام خنكار. في عندنا من سارة سؤال، how can an undergraduate develop themselves in the field of renewable energy؟ بس ما حددت التخصص، قالت فقط undergraduate.
اي undergraduate طبعا ما في برنامج undergraduate. يعني انا عشان ادور على البكالوريوس في العالم بنتكلم على late 70s وال early 80s. I was looking for schools that give me bachelor in renewable energy وما لقيت الا 2 schools في United States at that time. اضطريت انه يعني اروح لهم. But يعني any project it can be depending on how good you are in the field. In the senior project it's easier. It's much easier for undergraduate in the senior project. Myself, sometimes I get from Mawhiba students that they work with me and they get very good result and very good. Even the undergraduate, they get patent in them because we work in different projects for undergraduate and they benefit from that. They work in the summer for final project. I had so many students, undergraduate in the final project. But in the early days, I used to take a lot. Nowadays, I teach only graduate students.
شكرا جزيلا أستاذ الدكتور حسام خنكار. عندنا عميدة كلية العلوم والدراسات الإنسانية بالجبيل الآن بتلقي لنا كلمة. تفضلي دكتورة دلال الشنقيطي، مشكورة.
كيف الحال يا دكتور؟ شو أخبارك؟
الحمد لله بخير، كيف حالكم؟ إن شاء الله بخير.
الحمد لله، أنا جدا سعيدة. طبعا المحاضرة جدا جميلة، وأنا شايفة حماس من بناتنا. البرنامج الجديد حاضرين بحماس. أنا أعتقد أنك أنت اديتنا يعني تصور جدا رائع. أنا صراحة يعني واحد كان مطلع، بس العرض حقك يعني مرة رفع المعنويات. قديش ما شاء الله البحث العلمي عندنا في المملكة متقدم في هذا المجال. وكمان يعني شعرت بأنه الحمد لله في فرصة كبيرة لبناتنا. يعني المجال كبير للبنات، سواء في الريسيرش، يعني كثير موضوعات تعتمد على الفيزياء في دراستها، سواء في تطوير الطاقة الشمسية، في تطوير الخلايا، في دراسة أثر البيئة، في دراسة الانرجي ستورج، في الالكتريكال برفورمانس. أنا أعتقد إنه هذه كلها المجالات يعني مجالات ممتازة لبناتنا. ويعني أنا سعيدة جدا بحجم التقدم اللي ساير في المملكة. أنا صراحة ما كنت متخيلة إنه وصلنا لهذه المرحلة، فكانت محاضرتك جدا ممتازة. فأنا بس كانت مداخلتي إني حابة أشكرك على إطلاعنا على هذا، وإني أنا نتطلع إن شاء الله إلى مزيد من الشراكة معاكم عشان ندعم بناتنا وندعم البرنامج الجديد. أنت عارف هذا البرنامج الأول من نوعه، فنحن بنحاول قدر الإمكان إحنا نلاقي لهم سواء فرص تدريب، فرص بحثية، فرص مشاريع. فنحن جدا متطلعين إن إحنا إن شاء الله يكون في شراكة فاعلة معاكم، إن إحنا نلاقي فرص للبنات المتميزين اللي فرصهم تسمح إنها تروح لكاست ويحضروا البرامج حقتكم. ونتمنى مزيد من الورش حقتك ومزيد من الدعم للبرنامج عندنا يا دكتور. شاكرين ومقدرين حضورك وتواجدك.
الله شكر لكم أنتم. وصراحة أنا I always say that إنه مخرجاتكم هي الأساس، مخرجاتكم هي الفيول اللي حتكمل. إحنا يعني هذه سنة الحياة، إحنا نسلم الأمانة للي بعدنا، بحيث إنه إذا ما كان في أحد يستلمها حيصير في دروب. فأنا لذلك أنا شاركت في الورك شوب اللي سويتوه في الدمام، بحيث إنه بتحويل للموضوع الفيزياء الطاقة المتجددة، بسبب أنا كنت متحمس جدا للبرنامج ده، لأنه فعلا المملكة تحتاج إلى هذا الكم وأكثر من الموجودين من عندكم. يعني أنا أتمنى كل الجامعات أن يكون عندها دور حسب المنطقة للرينيوبل إنرجي، بكل جامعة حسب منطقتها وحسب الريسورسز. يعني لو أخذنا منطقة تبوك فيها ويند، المفروض يكونوا في مجموعة يفتحوا ديبارتمنت للويند، مسار للويند. البايو ماس في الجنوب في عندهم الباي فيول، المفروض المناطق الزراعية اللي في الجنوب في lot of في فيجيتيشنز هناك ممكن تنتج بكثرة من الباي فيول. الاندستريال هيدروجين، الووتر ريسورسز، سدود في الجنوب يمكن استفادة منها في التوربينات، لأنه الجنوب على جبال توصل إلى 3000 متر. فهذه المصبات المياه اللي تنزل على التوربينات ممكن تنجل. It's very cheap. وإحنا gifted صراحة، عندنا ربنا مدينا كثير من النعم، إحنا ما إحنا مستغلينها والناس تحسدنا عليها. كثير من الدول يحسدون عليها، سواء الطاقة الشمسية أو باطن المحيطات زي عمق البحر الأحمر ودرجة فرق درجات الحرارة، الأمواج، المد والجزر، هذه كلها طاقات متجددة. ناهيك عن الرياح والطاقة الشمسية، هذول الديفولت. الجيوثيرمال في منطقة المدينة المنورة، الحرات يمكن تسمعوا عنها، الحرة الشرقية والحرة الغربية، هذه كلها نعم. الجيوثيرمال ناتشرال ستورج 24/7 عندك طاقة حرارة باطن الأرض. يعني الحمد لله. فطبعا مين اللي يقدر ياخذ الكلام ده إذا ما كان في مخرجات من الجامعات بالشكل بكم كبير، وتتنظم الأمور هذه وهم يشيلوا الأمانة بعدنا. وأشكركم على الدعوة.
نحن يعني تطلعنا دائما نحن في القسم وفي الكلية وفي الجامعة إنه هذه الشراكات مع الجهات التصنيع، مع الجهات المنتجة، مع جهات البحث العلمي، هي اللي تقوي البرنامج. يعني نحن نؤمن إنه ما في شيء اسمه برنامج حينعمل كده لوحده بعيد عن الواقع. فوجود هذا النوع من الشراكات، استضافتكم، استشارتكم ومشاركتكم في بناء البرنامج حيكون له دور كبير، بحيث إن احنا نعمل alignment مع الاحتياجات الفعلية للطاقة الشمسية أو الطاقة العموم البديلة في المملكة. والشراكة هذه جدا حتكون إن شاء الله يعني مردودها على أبناء الوطن، على الوطن، بأن إحنا نخرج يعني مخرجات نوعية إن شاء الله حيكون لها. وزي ما أنت يعني التعليق حقك إن إحنا حنركز على الأنشطة اللي هي تكون إندور للبنات، يعني سواء في الريسيرش، في المعامل، في اللاب، في تطوير المواد، في تطوير في القياسات، في هذا يعني هو هذا بالفعل نقطة التركيز عندنا، لأنه يمكن صعب البنات يروحوا أوت دور وكذا. فيعني أعتقد إنه مداخلاتك جدا ثرية وحتفيدنا كثير في إن إحنا نرسم مستقبل البرنامج بإذن الله يا دكتور. فشاكرين جدا ومقدرين وجودك ودعمك الكبير للبرنامج.
إن شاء الله. الشكر لكم جميعا صراحة على استضافتني وإتاحة الفرصة لي إنه أنا أحط خبرة 40 سنة بين يد الطلبة هذولا، على أساس إنهم يقدروا يكون الحياة قدامهم مستقبلهم برايت ومشرق، لأنه فعلا يعني ربنا ما يخلق أحد ويتركه. أهم حاجة الالتزام الالتزام الالتزام. يعني أنا أقول الكوميتمنتس هذه the most important things. If you committed you can learn anything, but if you don't have this commitment حتى لو الواحد تعلم لأنه ما عنده commitment. فالcommitment it's the most important. بعد كده الباقي على رب العالمين يعني. فالcommitment تيجي من الشخص نفسه، تكون نابعة من الشخص نفسه. he is committed, he wants to learn, he wants to do something لدولته لبلده يعني هذا واجبه لأهله لمنطقته. it's very important يكون عندهم هذا الباك جراوند.
شكرا لك يا دكتور.
ووفقكم جميعا.
شكرا جزيلا عميدة كلية العلوم والدراسات الإنسانية سعادة الدكتورة دلال الشنقيطي على هذا الإثراء والمداخلة. أثرتينا يا دكتورة، وواضح ما شاء الله تبارك الله حرصك على طالباتنا. الله يخليك يا دكتورة، ما قصرتي، الله يجزاك خير. طيب احنا الآن نرجع لفقرة Q&A بإذن الله. احنا بنجاوب كذا على 3 أسئلة بعدين نختم يا دكتور. مناسب لك؟
مناسب. أنا بالنسبة لي ما عندي أي مشكلة. الوقت كل الوقت أنا دام في أحد بيستفيد أنا معاكم لين تزهق مني.
لا والله الله يجزاك خير. تمام بإذن الله. جل نكمل بإذن الله. في هنا عندنا سؤال من الأستاذ خالد عيد. لما لم تنشر ألواح الطاقة الشمسية بشكل كبير في المنازل؟
الألواح الطاقة الشمسية طبعا في المنازل هي the most efficient things، لكن الريجوليشنز والبوليسيز شوية فيها تحفظ، لأن تعرف فيها شركة الكهرباء تبغى تحط قوانينها، الدفاع المدني وده يحط قوانينه. يعني الأمور هذه ما بتمشي عندنا بسرعة. كانت ناوية تمشي يعني لولا سبحان الله ما أنا أكره أني أقول السبب الكورونا، لأنه أنا من الناس اللي ما أحب دائما أحط أعذار. اللي بده يشتغل يشتغل، إنما اللي بده يتعذر حيتعذر حتى بشروق الشمس ولا غروب الشمس. يعني يقول لك الجو حار، لكنها it's the most efficient. إذا في أوروبا عندهم ربع الشمس اللي عندنا وحاطينها عندهم، إحنا عندنا هنا believe me or not هذه المعلومة يعني الكل لازم يعرفها. إذا حطينا في منطقة في صحراء الدهنة 365 كيلو في 365 كيلو حطينا فوتوفولتيك بالإفشنسي الموجودة حاليا تكفي لكهرباء الكرة الأرضية كلها، وهذه تمثل 7% فقط من أرض المملكة العربية السعودية. يعني ربنا مدينا نعم ترى إحنا ما إحنا حاسين بها. فهذه يعني تخيل أنت عندك بس 7% من أراضيك تقدر تزودي الكهرباء للكرة الأرضية كاملة يوميا. طبعا احنا نتكلم على theoretically تطبيقيا يحتاج الى يعني مشاركة دول كثيرة وعملية balancing energy so many things, but in general we have some plenties. That's why الطاقة الشمسية ربع عند أوروبا، ومع ذلك مركبين كلهم طاقة شمسية في منازلهم. الآن في كاليفورنيا ما أحد يبني بيت جديد إلا لابد إجبار عليه يحط خلايا شمسية. كان أول لا يدوا له الكهرباء أغلى من الطاقة الشمسية، الآن ممنوع حتى ما يوصلوا الكهرباء إلا لما تركب طاقة شمسية. ففي ناس قاعدة يعني في العالم بيشتغلوا لسيفينج الانرجي saving their assets, saving their fuel, their oil. احنا نحتاج هذا اللي يصير.
شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور حسام. عندنا في هنا سؤال دكتور أحمد فرادي، بالنسبة لمحطة الطاقة الشمسية في الخفجي، هل اتجاه اللوحات ثابت أم متغير؟
متغير طبعا. It's one axis tracking. كنت حاطط لكم الموديل سيميليشنز حق الاكسس تراكنج والسنجل اكسس تراكنج، لكن ضيق الوقت ما قدرت احطه، يعني الوقت مره ضيق. بس هو سنجل اكسس تراكنج لانه ايكونوميكلي الان هو سنجل اكسس تراكنج هو المور افيشنت ايكونوميكلي.
شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور حسام. عندنا هنا من فاطمة جبيري، أنا طالبة دراسات عليا وخريجة كلية الجبيل وحاليا في جامعة الملك فيصل، هل في إمكانية مشاركتي في بحوثي والتواصل معك؟
by all means. الله يحييها.
جزاك خير بروفيسور. في هنا سؤال، هل يمكن لخريجي بكالوريوس الفيزياء عامة أن يعملوا في قطاع الطاقة أم يجب الحصول على درجة الماجستير أولا في التخصص؟
لا، ممكن الحصول. بالعكس، الفيزياء العامة ممكن يشاركوا. على سبيل المثال احنا تكلمنا على شطارة الفيزياء العامة. إذا هم good في الأوبتكس they can play ray tracing, modeling, ZMax, programming. يعني they can contribute. الطاقة الشمسية فيها multi discipline، فبيقدروا يشاركوا في أي قطاع. الكيمست، الانترفيس ماتيريالز، الاوبتكس ماتيريال، الميكانيكال تراكنج، الفوتوفولتيك. احنا ما تكلمنا على الفيزيكس ديب كوانتم فيزيكس، لا احنا بنتكلم على other subject ما لهم علاقه ابدا بالفيزيكس. يعني يقدروا يتخصصوا ويقدروا على الاوبتكس. يعني الفيزياء العامه ممكن يشاركوا ويفيدوا.
تمام، شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور حسام. في عندنا سؤال، in the CBFs or the concentration photovoltaics, how much energy you lose for cooling and how this reduces the efficiency?
Well, we went for 2000 suns concentration. We realized the 2000 suns that need لما توصل درجة حرارة 50 إنه تحتاج cooling, active cooling. طبعا active cooling معناها more cost, more maintenance. فحبينا ننزل إنه less headache, especially that's when you install the solar system for the desert or in the remote areas. ما حيكون في البريفليجز إنه ترسلي أحد يعمل لك صيانة، ما هي سهلة. فخصوصا على البيج سكيل. فنزلنا للباسيف كولينج. It's very important. The losses it's not much compared with the PV. The PV dramatically dropped down, but in multi-junction solar cells, the losses it could be 5% من ال 50% efficiencies الموجودة عندك. whereas في ال PV ينزل إلى 12% من ال 24. فيعني almost تلاقيها بسرعة تنزل درجة الحرارة. The most important is to keep the multi-junction solar cells less than 100 degrees.
تمام، شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور حسام. في عندنا سؤال، كطالبة مستوى 4 في الفيزياء الطاقة المتجددة، لو حبيت أسجل تطوع في مجال تخصصي فين ألاقي الفرص هذه؟ يعني هل في حساب تويتر أو موقع ممكن يفيدنا؟ تطوع يمكن في الطاقة المتجددة يعني.
أنا والله للأسف ما عندي أي سوشيال ميديا أتعامل فيها، لا تويتر لا واتساب لا يعني مع احترامي يعني أشوف أن الأشياء دي بتشغل الواحد في منطقتنا العربية، ما هي مجدية، ما هي مستخدمة efficient. That's why I don't not get into those. لكن التخصصات الفرص موجودة ما شاء الله في الإنترنت، وأنتم شاطرين في الإنترنت الأيام هذه. تقدروا we can find في ألمانيا، في حتى أونلاين. You don't have to go there. You can benefit from that around the world. كوريا، أمريكا، جنوب أفريقيا، هذه الدول يعني عندهم برامج كثير أونلاين.
شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور حسام. في هنا سؤال، كيف نقدر نتدرب في الصيف بهذا التخصص؟
it has to be officially sent from the university to CACS and then through that or other organizations. يعني أتوقع إنه كان حتى عندهم برنامج زي كذا. كاوست عندهم برنامج لتدريب الصيفي. موهبة عندها برنامج.
تمام بروفيسور، في هنا عندنا سؤال من الدكتور أحمد، ماذا عن مشاريع الطاقة النووية في المملكة؟
دكتور أحمد، المشاريع الطاقة النووية ماشية على قدم وساق، لكن طبعا أنت عارف إنه البيس لاين حيكون ميكس من بين الطاقة النووية والطاقة الأحفورية، والبيك حتكون بالطاقة المتجددة. لكن المشاريع ماشية على قدم وساق، بس تعرف يعني الطاقة النووية تحتاج احترازيات وريجوليشنز انترناشونالي أعلى من الطاقة المتجددة. إذا كان احنا في الطاقة المتجددة البيوت لسه ما تركبت فيها الطاقة الشمسية، وهي أسهل كثير وسيف انرجي، فما بالك على الطاقة النووية تحتاج بروبورشنز عالية وتصاريح من دول وتصاريح من منظمة الطاقة النووية. يعني شوية كومبليكيتد الموضوع، بس إنهم ماشيين فيها. أنا بحكم أن عضو بس هذا الكلام، ولا أنا ماني في الطاقة النووية أبدا.
شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور حسام. في عندنا هنا سؤال، في فرص نشتغل في أرامكو سابق إذا تخرجنا؟ يقصدون تخرجنا طاقة متجددة؟
والله أنا ماني في أرامكو سابق، بس لكن أرامكو عندها ديفيجن فتحتها renewable energy أتوقع، بس ما لا زالت they're contributing in أرامكو في renewable energy. سابق البوليمرز they're trying بيطوروا materials على أساس تفيد صناعة الطاقة الشمسية في المملكة، فشغالين. I'm sure إنهم ممكن تلاقي فرصة، بس أنا ما أقدر أحكم على organization أنا فيها.
شكرا بروفيسور حسام. في عندنا هنا شكرا بروفيسور حسام على هذا العرض القيم. هل هناك فرصة لمشاركة تخصص المناخ التطبيقي ونظم المعلومات الجغرافية في هذه الدراسات؟
طبعا البريدكشنز بالساتلايت it's very important. predictions smart predictions الآن completely needed، خصوصا الانفسترز يبغى data more confident. النظم الجغرافية تقدر تفيد كثير في الطاقة المتجددة. dust we talked about satellite، الصور بالساتلايت GIS very important. You can contribute. The most important is you find what's your niche where you can crack that.
واضح بروفيسور، شكرا جزيلا. في عندنا هنا استفسار، بما أن تخصص الفيزياء والطاقة المتجددة جديد، هل صحيح كما يقال أن فرص العمل قليلة في السعودية؟
لا، من الشرح اللي أنا شرحته من البرزنتيشن زي ما قلت ما هو قليلة أبدا، لأنه المملكة إذا حاطة 9.6 جيجا، مين اللي حيشتغل في 9.6؟ احنا الآن بنتكلم في دول يعني ما ركبت حتى 1 جيجا وعندها اندستري كاملة بالنسبة لي. تخيل أنت المصنع اللي عندنا هنا في مدينة الملك عبد العزيز للعلوم التقنية 100 ميجا، وما شاء الله التطوير لها، البحث، الفريق اللي بيطور بس في المواد اللي وراها بنتكلم على 500-600 موظف بيطوروا هذه في 100 ميجا. فما بالك عاد لو أخذنا كل القطاعات، سواء التراكر، سواء التكنولوجي، different technology، الثيرمال، فرص العمل كبيرة. يعني أنا أتوقع أهم حاجة الواحد يعني يكون committed صراحة في الشغل، لأنه هو ده اللي هيفرق ما بين شخص وآخر.
تمام، شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور حسام الدين خنكار على هذه الأجوبة القيمة، صراحة أثرتنا كثيرا يا دكتور، ما تقصر. وبإذن الله الآن نختم إن شاء الله.
شكرا لكم، شكرا للجميع.
وفي ختام سلسلة الندوات لعلوم الطاقة المتجددة، أشكر لكم حسن استماعكم وحضوركم، ولقسم الفيزياء بكم لقاءات وفعاليات في المستقبل.
شكرا جزيلا بروفيسور، الله يسلمك.
شكرا، يعطيكم الف عافيه، مع السلامه.
السلام عليكم.